I bought a new house and invited my daughter and her husband over for a festive dinner. But my son-in-law shouted, "Either my parents move in with you or you'll regret it." I calmly replied, "No." 5 minutes later, I had a black eye. He thought I would get scared and give in, but I just smiled, put ice on my face, and wrote to my lawyer. Phase 1 complete. Sirens were already wailing outside the window. The police had arrived, and that was only the beginning of his downfall. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. The notary's stamp hit the paper with a satisfying thud. My signature was already dry on the dozen pages, spread across the conference table, each one representing something I'd worked toward since my first year teaching American history to disinterested sophomores. The realtor slid a small envelope toward me. "Congratulations, Mr. Murphy. You're officially a homeowner." The keys felt cold in my palm. 2 brass copies on a simple ring. The address tag read, 847 SW Hazelwood Drive, Beaverton, a 2-bedroom ranch with a garage, mature maple trees in the yard, and enough space to finally breathe. $385,000. Every cent earned standing in front of classrooms, grading essays at midnight while microwaving leftovers, packing lunches when colleagues ordered takeout. "Big day," the realtor continued, gathering her folders. 30 years of teaching, and now this beautiful reward. "It's been a long road," I stood, pocketing the keys, "but worth every early morning class." "Will family be joining you there?" I hesitated at the door. "We'll see. I'm having them over next week." The walk to my car felt longer than it should have. I'd imagined this moment differently, calling Mabel from the parking lot, hearing her shriek with excitement, maybe even tears of pride. Instead, I sat behind the wheel in silence, holding a phone I wasn't quite ready to use. Back in my Northeast Portland apartment, I stood by the window overlooking the street. The building had been home for 12 years, ever since the divorce. Affordable, functional, forgettable. I'd practiced what I'd say to Mabel, refining my tone. Excitement, but not too much. Pride, but humble. Just a father sharing good news with his daughter. I dialed. She answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, Dad, what's going on?" "Honey, I closed on the house today. I wanted you to be the first to know." The pause lasted 3 seconds too long. "That's good, Dad." Her voice flattened. "But isn't a whole house a lot for just you?" My smile froze. In the background, Rodney's voice cut through, sharp and unmuted. Waste of money at his age. Could have helped us instead. My jaw tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "I'd love for you both to come see it. Dinner next Saturday?" "Sure." Another pause. "I guess we can do that." The call ended 90 seconds later. I stood there, phone in hand, staring at nothing. Not even a congratulations. Just judgment. Just calculation. The next few days I packed boxes with mechanical precision. Books first. American history texts. Biographies. 3 decades of accumulated knowledge. Then dishes wrapped in newspaper. Glasses cushioned in bubble wrap. My hands moved automatically while my mind replayed that phone call on an endless loop. I found the photograph in the back of my desk drawer, wedged behind old grade books. Mabel at 22, cap and gown, beaming at the camera with her diploma held high. Portland State University, Bachelor of Arts. I'd paid every cent of that tuition. Community college salary stretched across 4 years of courses, textbooks, fees. I'd taken on extra tutoring gigs, skipped vacations, eaten rice and beans while she enjoyed campus meal plans. She'd hugged me that graduation day, tears in her eyes. "I couldn't have done this without you, Dad." I set the frame down carefully. My hands didn't shake. At my desk, I pulled out a notepad and began writing. Not a packing list this time. An accounting. College tuition and fees, $48,000. Wedding venue and catering, $15,000. They'd been short, and Rodney's family hadn't contributed much. I'd covered the difference without complaint. Down payment assistance for their apartment, $20,000. Rodney had called it a loan. I'd never seen a dollar back. Car insurance premiums, still paying. $150 monthly for 3 years. Another $5,400. The laptop I bought her for work, $200. The emergency fund when Rodney's business venture collapsed, $7,500. My pen stopped. I stared at the total. $97,100. 6 years of giving. 6 years of Rodney's expectations, and Mabel's gradual transformation from grateful daughter to entitled stranger. "You used to be proud of me," I said to the photograph. "What changed?" But I knew what changed. Rodney happened. Rodney with his failed startups and big promises. Rodney who borrowed my car for a week without asking, who listed me as a reference without permission, who spoke to me like I was an inconvenience he tolerated for Mabel's sake. And now, my house, my reward for 3 decades of work, was wasteful. At my age. I looked at the list again. $50,000 in 6 years, and they wanted more. They wanted the house, too. They wanted it all. I picked up my phone and started a new list. Things I needed for the new house. Dishes, towels, a fresh start. 3 days after the closing, I needed to stock the new house. The list in my hand was practical. Dish sets, towels, basic kitchen supplies, nothing fancy. A teacher's budget didn't change just because I'd bought property. I drove to the Fred Meyer on Northeast Weidler, the one I'd shopped at for years. Every errand familiar and routine. Friday afternoon traffic was light. I found parking easily and grabbed a cart inside. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, mixing with pop music from ceiling speakers and the smell of rotisserie chicken from the deli. I headed toward housewares, mentally checking items off as I walked. White dishes. Simple. Clean. $20 set for 8. Navy blue towels. 4 bath and 4 hand. Practical. Economical. Everything about this shopping trip felt purposeful, like I was building something new, one small piece at a time. I was comparing 2 dish patterns when I heard my name. "Freeman! Freeman Murphy!" I turned. An older man approached, mid-60s, slightly overweight, wearing a golf shirt with a Palm Springs logo. His face was familiar in that frustrating way where you know you've met someone but can't place them. He stuck out his hand with aggressive friendliness. "It's Frank, Rodney's father. Finally, we meet properly." Memory clicked into place. The wedding reception 6 years ago. We'd shaken hands, exchanged maybe 10 words total. Rodney's parents had flown in from California, stayed 3 days, disappeared back to their retirement community. "Frank?" I shook his hand automatically. "From the wedding. It's been years." "Too long?" His grip was enthusiastic, pumping my arm. "But we'll be seeing plenty of each other soon." Something in my chest tightened. "Will we?" Rodney told us the wonderful news. Frank's face glowed with gratitude. "You're letting Linda and me move into your new place. We can't thank you enough." The housewares section tilted slightly. "He told you that?" "He said you offered the spare room since the house is big and you're alone." Frank kept talking, oblivious to my frozen expression. "Our pension barely covers California rent anymore. Property taxes alone are choking us. This is a genuine lifesaver, Freeman. Linda's already started packing." My throat felt tight. "I see. We'll be model housemates, I promise you that. Quiet as mice. Tidy. We'll even help with bills. Whatever's fair." I forced my face into something resembling a smile. "Professional courtesy. 30 years of practice." We should talk about details." Of course. Frank patted my shoulder. "Rodney said you're having them over for dinner next week. We can discuss everything then. Work out the logistics. Figure out moving dates. We're thinking early next month. Give you time to settle in first." I was trapped. Every polite response I could muster would only dig the hole deeper. "Right. The dinner. Linda wanted me to tell you how much this means to us." Frank's voice carried genuine emotion. "Fixed income is rough these days. And family helping family, that's what matters. You're a good man, Freeman. Better than most fathers-in-law." The irony burned. "Well, I won't keep you. I know you're busy getting ready." Frank checked his watch. "Just wanted to say thank you face to face. Means more that way." "Of course." My voice sounded distant in my own ears. "We'll speak soon." "See you next month, roommate," he laughed, clapping me on the shoulder again before walking away toward the grocery aisles. I stood motionless, white dishes still in my hand. The store continued around me, carts rolling, conversations humming, life proceeding normally while mine cracked open. I moved toward a checkout on autopilot, scanned my items, made small talk with the cashier about the weather, swiped my card, carried bags to my car with careful, measured steps. Only when I was alone, door closed, packages on the passenger seat, did I let the fury surface. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles went white. I breathed slowly through my nose, forcing control. The audacity was breathtaking. Rodney had promised my house, the one I'd saved 3 decades to buy, to his parents, without asking, without even mentioning it. He'd simply decided that Freeman's extra bedroom was community property, available for redistribution. Just like when he'd taken my car for a week without permission, driving it to Seattle for some business meeting that never materialized. Just like when he'd listed me as a professional reference without asking first, leaving me to field confused calls from employers checking on his fabricated credentials. Just like the down payment he'd called a loan, but treated as a gift. The pattern was clear now, sharp as broken glass. Rodney saw me as a resource to be exploited, and Mabel, my daughter, who'd once cried grateful tears at graduation, had let him. Enough, I said aloud. The word felt solid, final. I pulled out my phone and searched. Lawyers specializing in property rights, Portland, Oregon. The first consultation was free. I barely slept that night. By dawn, I'd made my decision. I sat at my kitchen table with lukewarm coffee and my laptop, methodically reviewing attorney profiles. The search from my phone in the Fred Meyer parking lot had yielded 15 results. I read reviews, checked credentials, compared specializations. Patricia Caldwell's name appeared repeatedly in elder law discussions, estate disputes, family mediation. Her office was downtown, rates reasonable, first consultation complimentary. I composed the email carefully. No names yet, no accusations, just facts. Need consultation regarding property boundaries and family pressure. Available this week? Her response arrived before lunch. Tomorrow at 2. Please bring any relevant documentation. I considered calling Mabel, confronting her about Frank's revelation, demanding explanation, but that would only warn Rodney. Better to gather information first, understand my options. Strategy requires patience. 30 years of lesson planning taught me that preparation wins battles. I pulled out a legal pad and began documenting. Dates. Rodney borrowed my car without asking. February 2022. Kept it 9 days. Professional references used without permission. May 2023, 3 different employers called me confused. Down payment. Loan. December 2021, $20,000. No repayment discussion since month 3. Evidence. Documentation. The teacher becomes strategist. Patricia Caldwell's office occupied the 3rd floor of a modest building near Pioneer Square. I arrived 5 minutes early the next afternoon, wearing slacks and a collared shirt, my teaching uniform. Professional courtesy matters, even in battle preparation. She was early 50s, dark hair pulled back, wire-rimmed glasses. Her handshake was firm. Mr. Murphy, coffee? No, thank you. Business first. Her office walls displayed credentials. Oregon State Bar, Family Mediation Certification, Elder Advocacy Awards. She gestured to a leather chair across from her desk and opened a fresh notepad. Start from the beginning. I'll take notes. I laid it out systematically. The house purchase, Frank's gratitude in the grocery store, 6 years of Rodney's presumptions building like layers of sediment. She wrote quickly, occasionally asking clarifying questions. Did you confront him about the car? I raised it with my daughter. She said I was being difficult. That family shares. And the house promise. When exactly did you learn about it? 3 days ago. His father thanked me. I had no idea what he meant. Patricia's pen paused. So your son-in-law promised your property to his parents, without your knowledge or consent. Correct? She wrote something, underlined it twice. What outcome are you seeking? I leaned forward slightly. I'm having them to dinner tomorrow evening. I intend to make clear his parents cannot move in, but I need to know my rights. I kept my voice level. Hypothetically, if someone tried to force me physically to agree to something I don't want, what would be the legal ramifications? Her expression sharpened. She understood this wasn't purely academic. In Oregon, any unwanted physical contact constitutes assault. A punch, a shove, even aggressive grabbing. She met my eyes. Are you expecting a confrontation? I think he's used to getting his way. I'd like to be prepared. What if the victim is over 60? Patricia set down her pen. Aggravating factor. If police are called, arrest is mandatory. Conviction is likely if there's evidence. Define evidence. Witnesses, recordings, physical injury. Medical documentation. She studied me carefully. Mr. Murphy, if you believe there's genuine risk, you should consider having someone present, or meeting in a public place. It's my house, my space. I kept my tone firm but not aggressive. I won't be driven from it by threats. Then keep your phone accessible. If anything happens, anything, call 911 immediately. Document everything. Oregon is a one-party consent state for recordings, which means you can legally record conversations you're part of without other parties' knowledge. I wrote that down. She watched me write. One more thing, Patricia said. Professional licenses can be affected by assault convictions. Does your son-in-law have any certifications? Real estate, financial services, anything requiring background checks? He claims to be in real estate development. Then an assault conviction could end his career. She closed her notepad. I'm not encouraging you to provoke him. I'm simply ensuring you understand the full scope of consequences if he chooses violence. I left her office with clarity. After the consultation, I stopped at Safeway. Steaks, red wine, potatoes, fresh salad greens, quality ingredients. This needed to look like genuine celebration. Then Best Buy, a small digital voice recorder, nondescript packaging. I paid cash. That evening, I drove to the new house in Beaverton. The rooms still echoed empty except for basic furniture. I positioned the recorder on the living room bookshelf, angled toward the dining table. Tested it. Clear audio pickup. Then I opened my phone's video app, started recording, and propped it on the kitchen counter facing the dining area. The angle captured the entire space. I stopped the recording and set the phone aside, screen dark but positioned perfectly. Alone in my bathroom, I practiced in the mirror. Neutral calm when provoked. Firm resolve when refusing. I rehearsed the key phrase, "This is my house. I decide who lives here." My voice stayed steady, not aggressive. Controlled. That night, I texted Patricia. Everything ready for tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock. Her response came immediately. Remember the plan. State your position calmly. Don't engage if he escalates. Phone accessible. Record everything. Call police immediately if needed. I typed back, understood. Thank you for your guidance. She replied once more. You're doing the right thing. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty. I set my phone down and looked around my living room. My space, purchased with my labor. Tomorrow I would defend it. The trap was set. I had one more errand before tomorrow's dinner. I woke in my old apartment, made coffee, and drove to Portland Community College in southeast Portland. I needed to collect my remaining personal items from my office. Books, photographs, teaching certificates. A task I'd been postponing. Now it felt necessary, closing one chapter before opening another. The campus looked smaller than I remembered. Brick buildings from the 70s, student parking lots half empty between terms. Pathways I'd walked for decades now felt like touring a museum of my past. I carried 2 empty boxes to the history department. My former office door stood open. Someone else's space now, but they'd left my things undisturbed. A cardboard box on the desk containing my nameplate, framed teaching awards, a department photo from 2019. I picked up the brass plate. Professor Freeman Murphy, American History. 3 decades summarized in metal letters. Freeman, thought you'd be long gone by now. I turned. Dr. Helen Torres, a sociology professor from the adjacent office, stood in the doorway. She'd taught here almost as long as I had. Getting there, just collecting the last of my things. Enjoying retirement? How's Mabel doing? Helen stepped inside, leaning against the doorframe. I saw her downtown last month, actually. That restaurant near Powell's. My hands stilled on a framed certificate. She's fine. Busy with work. That husband of hers, Helen paused tactfully. Quite a personality. Made quite a scene with the waiter over something minor. My jaw tightened, but I kept wrapping the frame in newspaper. That's one way to put it. Helen seemed to sense she'd touched something raw. Well, if you need anything, you know where to find me. We should get lunch sometime. Absolutely. How's your semester shaping up? She took the deflection gracefully, talked about enrollment numbers for a few minutes, then excused herself. I finished packing in silence. Driving home, I took the long route through familiar Portland neighborhoods. My mind drifted to the day Mabel introduced Rodney. 6 years ago. Sunday brunch at a downtown cafe. He'd worn an expensive watch. talked confidently about real estate deals, upcoming opportunities. He'd stood when I arrived, extended his hand with practiced firmness. "Mr. Murphy, Mabel's told me so much about you. The sacrifices you made for her education, incredible." I'd wanted to correct him, not sacrifices, investments. But Mabel glowed beside him, radiant with new love. I'd chosen encouragement instead. "Call me Freeman. Take care of her, that's all I ask." "I promise, sir. Family first, always." I'd wanted to believe him. The first 2 years seemed fine. They visited regularly. Rodney brought wine, asked about my classes, listened attentively when I talked about curriculum changes. Then came year 3, the shift. "Freeman, I have an opportunity." Rodney's voice on the phone, urgent with controlled excitement. "Real estate investment certification program. 10,000 gets me qualified for commercial deals." I'd hesitated. "That's significant money." "I'll double it in 6 months, then repay you with interest." Mabel had gotten on the line, her voice pleading, "Dad, this could change our lives. Rodney's so close to breaking through." I'd written the check. 6 months became a year. The year became silence. When I finally asked about repayment, gently over coffee, Rodney's expression had gone cold. "Loan? I thought that was you supporting family. Mabel said you wanted to help." I did help, but we agreed. "Family doesn't keep receipts, Freeman. That's not how love works." I'd backed down then, let it go. Convinced myself he was right. I was being petty. But the requests continued. Car payment assistance when his deal fell through. Vacation funding when they needed to decompress from stress. Each time, gratitude became briefer. Expectation grew stronger. I arrived at the Beaverton house as evening shadows stretched across the lawn. Inside, I walked through each room slowly. The dining table was set, the recorder positioned, my phone charged and ready on the kitchen counter. I stood in the living room, my space, purchased with my labor, and felt certainty settle over me like armor. Tomorrow I would draw the line, not with anger, not with accusations, simply with fact. This is mine, and I decide. My phone buzzed, Patricia's message, final reminder, stay calm, state boundaries clearly, don't engage if he escalates. Record everything. Police on speed dial. I typed back, ready. Thank you for your guidance. Her response came quickly. You're doing the right thing. Setting boundaries isn't cruelty. I replied, I know. It's necessary. I set my phone down and looked around my living room one last time before the battle. Everything I'd worked for sat quiet and peaceful around me. Tomorrow, I would defend it. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. I took a final breath, checked my phone on the kitchen counter, recording app ready, and glanced at the bookshelf where the voice recorder sat innocently among history texts. My heart was steady. This was it. I opened the door. Mabel stood there first, her smile uncertain. Behind her, Rodney wore an expensive shirt, his expression already scanning, already judging. And behind them both, Frank and Linda carrying wine, beaming with anticipation. My stomach tightened, but I stepped aside. Come in. Welcome. Rodney didn't wait for invitation. He walked through my living room, touched the wall with his fingertips. Paint job's mediocre. You overpaid for this place. Frank tried to smooth things. Freeman, what a lovely entryway. Linda, look at this fireplace. Thank you, Frank. Please, everyone sit. Dinner's ready. I served drinks, positioned myself near the phone. Everything deliberate, controlled. The recorder captured it all. At the dining table, I brought out steaks and roasted potatoes. Rodney cut his meat with aggressive sawing motions, refilled his own wine without asking. You know, Freeman, I've been viewing actual investment properties lately. Real estate with potential. He gestured vaguely at my walls. This is adequate for a retirement situation. Linda tried to change subjects. Freeman, do you have plans for the garden? The soil here is wonderful for vegetables. I'm considering tomatoes, maybe herbs, Rodney interrupted. Waste of effort. Grocery store is cheaper and easier. Besides, at your age, you need low-maintenance everything. Frank's discomfort showed. Rodney, your father-in-law can garden if he wants. I'm being practical. Someone has to be. Mabel picked at her food, silent. Frank and Linda exchanged glances. The tension built like pressure in a sealed container. I stood, raised my wine glass. Everyone looked up. I want to thank you all for coming. This house represents decades of work. I paused, met Frank's eyes directly. And I need to address something. Frank, Linda, Rodney told you that you could live here. I need to be clear. I never made that offer. I'm sorry for any confusion, but you won't be moving in. The silence was absolute. Frank's face reddened. What? But Rodney said you offered the spare bedroom. Linda's voice was small, shocked. We've been packing for weeks. Rodney's chair scraped back. What are you doing, old man? We had an agreement. We had no agreement. My voice stayed level. This is my home. You ungrateful. Rodney stood, towering. After everything Mabel and I have done for you. Everything you've done? I remained seated. I believe I'm the one who's given Rodney. His face went crimson. My parents are moving in, or you'll regret this. I promise you that. No, they're not. He stepped toward me. What did you say? I looked up at him, calm and direct. No. His fist came fast, connected with my cheek. My head snapped sideways. I fell, caught myself on one hand. The room erupted. Mabel screaming, Frank shouting, Linda gasping. I stood slowly, walked to the freezer, wrapped ice in a towel, pressed it to my face. Blood at the corner of my mouth tasted metallic. I picked up my phone. Rodney, what did you do? Mabel's voice, high and panicked. He pushed me to it. You all saw. Rodney was breathing hard. Frank stood horrified. Son, you just hit him. I typed carefully with one thumb. I'm calling the police. You wouldn't dare. I pressed send on the text to Patricia. Phase 1 complete. Then I dialed 911. Watch me. The operator answered. I gave my address, stated the situation with mechanical precision. I was assaulted in my home. The attacker is still here. I need officers immediately. Rodney paced, agitated. Frank and Linda sat frozen. Mabel cried quietly into her hands. We waited in terrible silence. 5 minutes, 8. Then sirens, growing louder. Blue and red lights flashed through my front window. I walked to the door and opened it before they could knock. 2 officers stood on my porch. The older one had kind eyes, but a cop's assessing gaze. He took in my swollen face immediately. I'm Officer Martinez. We received a call about an assault? Yes. I was struck by my son-in-law, Rodney Murphy. He's still here. I gestured toward the dining room. I have video and audio recordings of the incident. Martinez's eyes registered that detail. Are you injured, sir? Split lip, some swelling. Nothing requiring hospital care, but I'd like to press charges. Let's see what we have. I led them to the kitchen counter, picked up my phone, navigated to the video. This recorded the entire incident. Martinez watched. The footage was clear. Rodney standing, threatening, then punching. The impact, my fall. His partner watched over his shoulder. Martinez's jaw tightened. And you mentioned audio? I retrieved the voice recorder from the bookshelf, played it back. Rodney's threats, the ultimatum, the sound of fist meeting flesh. Martinez turned to Rodney, who stood in the dining room, expression shifting from anger to alarm. Sir, can you explain what happened here? He manipulated this whole thing. He deliberately provoked. Sir, I need you to remain quiet right now. Martinez's tone was professional, firm. He turned to the witnesses. Did any of you see him strike this man? Frank, ashamed, nodded. Yes, I saw it, Linda whispered through tears. Yes. Even Mabel, crying, nodded reluctantly. I saw it. But my father provoked him by... Thank you. Physical assault is assault, regardless of provocation. Martinez photographed my injury with his phone, took measurements in the room, made notes. His younger partner interviewed witnesses separately. 20 minutes later, Martinez approached Rodney. Sir, turn around and place your hands behind your back. Rodney's face went pale. You're actually arresting me? For defending myself against manipulation? You're under arrest for assault in the 4th degree. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The handcuffs clicked. Rodney's parents watched their son led away. Linda sobbed. Frank stared at me with something between betrayal and understanding. After Rodney was placed in the patrol car, Mabel turned on me, her face twisted with anger and grief. How could you do this? You called the police on my husband, in front of his parents. I kept the ice pressed to my face. He hit me. in my home, because I wouldn't let him control my property. I did what I had to do. You could have just let his parents stay. Why are you being so stubborn? Stubborn? My voice was cold. I'm defending what's mine, something I should have done years ago. You've destroyed my marriage. No, Rodney did that when he raised his fist. She left with Frank and Linda. The house fell silent. I documented everything while it was fresh, photographed my injury in the bathroom mirror, wrote down the timeline, forwarded the video to Patricia with timestamp, still gathering evidence, still thinking ahead. The next morning, Patricia called. Rodney posted bail, $5,000. His parents paid it. Expected. He sent you 3 text messages overnight. Threatening. I'm filing for a restraining order immediately. Good. There's something else. Her voice carried satisfaction. I sent the police report to the Oregon Real Estate Agency. Rodney's license will be suspended pending the criminal case outcome. If he's convicted, even on a plea deal, he'll likely lose it permanently. That afternoon, I sat in Patricia's office. She slid a document across her desk. The agency responded quickly. I picked up the paper and read the preliminary response. Investigation opened. License suspended immediately. Effective this morning. I nodded slowly. Good. A week passed. The swelling on my face faded to yellow bruising that makeup could almost hide. I sat on my back patio with morning coffee when my phone buzzed. Patricia's text. Hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Rodney's attorney pushing for plea deal. I typed back. Will they accept? Her response came quickly. With your age and the evidence, he has no leverage. I returned to my coffee, watching sparrows hunt for seeds in the grass. Life had settled into routine. I planted tomato seedlings in the garden beds, unpacked more boxes, arranged history books on shelves by era. But I checked my phone regularly. The legal machinery ground slowly but inevitably forward. The next afternoon, Patricia called from the courthouse. The hearing concluded. Rodney pled guilty to assault in the 4th degree. Terms: 18 months probation, 60 hours community service, $1,500 in fines, $800 restitution to you. And the license? Agency finalized their decision today. Revoked for minimum 2 years. He's done in real estate. She paused. Freeman, he can't work in his field for years minimum. That's complete career destruction. Thank you for handling this. I hung up and looked at my tomato plants. The stems were already thickening, reaching for sunlight. Growth takes time. So does collapse. 2 weeks later, Patricia emailed me the Oregon Real Estate Agency's decision. I read it at my kitchen table. The language was formal, final. License revoked effective immediately. Petitioner may reapply after 2 years, pending criminal record review and ethics evaluation. I forwarded the email to my folder, labeled Legal Rodney, and returned to repairing a loose cabinet hinge. Normal maintenance, normal life. The restitution check arrived on a Thursday, $800. I deposited it without ceremony at my bank's ATM. That same afternoon, Patricia mentioned, during a brief call that she'd heard through courthouse connections, that Rodney had missed his mortgage payment. Then the second. I did the math silently. Mabel's salary, maybe $3,800 monthly as a marketing manager, couldn't sustain their lifestyle alone. Their apartment mortgage was probably $2,500. Car payments, insurance, credit cards, utilities. They'd been living on Rodney's commissions, which fluctuated but averaged high. Now, zero income from him. The dominoes were falling. 3 weeks after the arrest, my phone rang. Caller ID, Frank. I hesitated, then answered. Freeman, it's Frank. Frank, how are you? His laugh was bitter. How do you think? My son has no career? No income? Linda and I spent our savings bailing him out. $5,000 we can't afford. We're stuck in California paying rent we can barely manage now. I'm sorry you're in that position. Are you? His voice sharpened. You orchestrated this whole thing. Set him up. I defended my property and myself. Rodney chose to become violent. Those were his decisions. Legal, maybe. Silence stretched. But was it right? Was it right for him to promise my house without asking? To hit me when I refused? Frank had no answer. The call ended shortly after. That evening I browsed real estate listings out of old habit. Decades of watching market trends, hearing Rodney talk about properties. I found their apartment, listed for sale. Price already dropped twice. The photos showed their furniture, their life. I recognized the couch I'd helped them buy when they first moved in. I closed the browser tab and returned to my book. Days blurred into weeks. Patricia sent updates via email. Court documents, agency decisions, probation requirements. I filed each in my folder. Teacher's habit. Document everything. Through neighborhood connections, Portland's surprisingly small, I heard Mabel had taken overtime shifts, weekend work. She was trying to keep them afloat alone while Rodney applied desperately for retail positions, delivery driving, anything. But his assault conviction showed on background checks. His real estate experience was useless without a license. I sat at my kitchen table one evening, laptop open to their apartment listing. The price had dropped again. They were bleeding money, desperate for any buyer. My phone rang. Caller ID, Mabel. I stared at it for 3 rings. I answered. The call was brief. Mabel's voice was strained, careful. "Dad, I need to talk to you. Can I come over?" I hesitated. The restraining order prohibited Rodney, not her. "When?" "Tomorrow afternoon. I'll be alone, I promise." "All right, 2 o'clock." The next day I watched through my front window as her car pulled into my driveway. She emerged slowly, thinner than I remembered, dark circles under her eyes, clothes wrinkled. She walked to my door as if each step cost something. I opened before she knocked. "Dad, thank you for agreeing to see me." "Come in." I stepped aside. "We can talk in the living room." She looked around nervously as we entered. Her eyes lingered on the spot where Rodney had stood, where he'd thrown the punch. "The house really is nice. I'm sorry I didn't say that before." "Sit down, Mabel. What did you need to discuss?" She took the armchair, the same one where Frank had sat during that dinner. I sat on the couch where I'd waited for police. The coffee table between us felt like a canyon. She opened her mouth twice before words came. "Dad, please, you have to withdraw the complaint against Rodney. He can't work. We can't pay our mortgage. We're losing everything." "Mabel, I can't withdraw it. The state is prosecuting the case. He pled guilty." Her voice rose. "But you could tell them you want leniency. They'd listen to the victim." "The victim was listened to. Your husband is on probation. That's lenient given the circumstances." "But his license? They took his career away over one mistake." Her hands gestured pleadingly. "One mistake was hitting a 64-year-old man in his own home." She stood abruptly, agitated. "Why are you doing this? You have your house. You won. Why keep punishing us?" I remained seated. "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply not rescuing Rodney from consequences. You could help. You have savings. You could lend us money to get through this." "No, I couldn't and wouldn't. That's selfish. Family helps family." My calm cracked slightly. I stood too. "Family helps family. I gave you $50,000 in 6 years. $15,000 for your wedding. $20,000 for your apartment down payment. Your education cost $48,000 before that. What did I receive besides expectations for more?" She stared, tears streaming. "You're actually keeping the list of what you gave your daughter?" "I wasn't. But you keep asking for more." "Rodney wanted my house next. Where does it end?" "With you alone in this house. That's where it ends." Her voice broke. I kept my voice level. "Perhaps, but it's my house. That was always the point." She grabbed her purse, headed for the door. "I can't believe you're my father." The door closed hard. I didn't follow. I walked to the window and watched her drive away, tires kicking up gravel. Hours later, Patricia called. "Freeman, final update. Agency decision is official. License revoked. Minimum 2 years." I expected that. I also heard they're selling the apartment. Fast sale, big loss. Moving to rental housing? Understood. Thank you, Patricia. That evening I checked the real estate site. Their listing. Pending sale. Price $30,000 below original. They'd barely break even after fees. Might even take a loss. I closed the laptop. Darkness fell over my garden. The house was quiet. My phone stayed silent. I walked to my desk and pulled out the folder, labeled Legal Rodney. Inside, police report, plea agreement, license revocation letter. I added one more note to the timeline. Apartment sale, forced, moving to rental. The story wasn't over, but the arc was clear. 2 weeks passed without contact from Mabel. The silence felt inevitable. I was kneeling in my garden, pulling weeds from around the tomato plants, when my phone buzzed, Patricia's name on the screen. I wiped dirt from my hands. Freeman, I thought you should know. Mabel filed for divorce from Rodney yesterday. I sat on the porch steps, phone still at my ear. How do you know? Court records are public. I monitor them for clients. A pause. She cited our reconcilable differences. No contested assets. Should be quick. I see. How are you with this? I looked at my tomato plants, stems thick with late summer growth. I expected it eventually, just not this soon. Financial pressure destroys relationships faster than anything else. I thanked her and hung up. My daughter's marriage, the one I'd paid $15,000 to celebrate, had lasted 6 years. Took 6 weeks to completely destroy. I didn't celebrate. I pictured Mabel in some attorney's office, signing papers, her life disintegrating around her. I thought about Rodney receiving the documents, another humiliation after losing his career, his home, his income. I felt no triumph, just the quiet certainty that actions have consequences. Always. Patricia called again 3 days later. More information if you want it. Go ahead. Courthouse gossip says they'd been fighting constantly. Money arguments, blame, living in that cheap rental, her salary barely covering basics, him unable to find work with his record. She paused. Each saw the other as the reason they'd lost everything. The divorce was inevitable. I thanked her again. That evening I heard through a former colleague that Rodney had left Portland entirely, moved back to his parents in California. But even that relationship was strained. Frank and Linda had lost $5,000 bailing him out, been humiliated by his lies about my house. Now their son worked warehouse night shifts, lived in their spare room. His real estate dreams were dead, his life reduced to survival. I didn't seek this information. It found me. Portland's smaller than people think. Late August brought an unexpected visitor. I was reading when the doorbell rang. Evening shadows stretched across my lawn. Mabel stood on my porch. She looked different. Thinner, yes, but something else. The entitled anger from her last visit was gone. Her eyes were red but clear, her clothes plain, no makeup. She looked humbler, broken maybe, but also steady. Dad, can we talk? I studied her face. Come sit on the porch. We sat where we could see the garden, but not inside where sharper memories lived. She was quiet for a long moment. Dad, I need to apologize. Really apologize. I listened. Rodney manipulated me, but I let him. I chose greed over love, chose material comfort over you. Her voice was steady despite tears. I stood by while he hit you. I blamed you for defending yourself. I was blind. Why are you telling me this now? Because losing everything showed me what mattered. I lost my marriage, my home, my savings, but the worst thing I almost lost was you. Almost? I'm here asking if there's a chance. I don't want money. I don't want help. I just want forgiveness. I let silence settle. Then, I hear you, and I see you're sincere. I'll carry the shame of that night forever. I should have stopped him, should have defended you. Mabel, I won't pretend it didn't hurt, but I also know manipulation is powerful. You were vulnerable to it. That's not an excuse. No, but it's context. I looked at my garden. I loved you before all this. I still do. But things will be different now. I understand. Whatever boundaries you need. We'll start with visits. Rebuild slowly. But I need you to understand. I will never be your safety net for bad choices again. I wouldn't ask you to be. I'm just asking for my father back. Evening fell as we sat together, not embracing, not making promises, just sitting quietly for the first time in months. She stood to leave. Can I come back next weekend? I considered. Yes, we'll have coffee. She nodded, walked to her car. I watched her taillights disappear down the street, then turned back to my house. The porch light cast warm glow on the doorway. I stepped inside, closed the door gently, and felt something I hadn't in months. The possibility of peace. September arrived with cooler mornings. I'd been in my house 3 months. I sat on my porch with coffee, a ritual I'd developed. My garden showed summer's work, tomatoes heavy on vines, basil flourishing, evidence of care and time. My phone buzzed, text from Mabel. Coming by around 10, if that's still okay. I replied, See you then. She visited most weekends now. Short visits, coffee, and conversation, slowly rebuilding trust. She'd rented a small apartment across town, taken a new job at a different marketing firm, started seeing a therapist. She talked about her life openly, simpler, more intentional, more honest. I'd settled into retirement well. Morning coffee, garden work, reading, occasional lunch with Helen Torres and other former colleagues. Normal life, on my terms. As I waited for Mabel's arrival, I thought back to that August evening, the night Rodney hit me. How far everything had come since then. His life destroyed, mine vindicated, my daughter slowly returning. I didn't regret calling the police, didn't regret any of what followed. Some people would call it revenge. I called it justice. Her car pulled up at 10 exactly. She was punctual now, respectful of my time. She looked healthier, eating better, sleeping more. She brought pastries from a local bakery. We sat on the porch together, talking about her week. New clients, therapy insights, decorating her small apartment herself, normal conversation, parent and adult child, rebuilding through ordinary moments. "Your garden looks incredible," she said. "You've really made this place yours. It's been good having a project. Keeps me busy. You seem happy, peaceful." "I am, for the first time in a long while." She set down her coffee cup, looked at me seriously. "Dad, I need to thank you. For not bailing Rodney out. For calling the police. For holding firm. You were angry at the time."